All right, we're back again to talk about something that men really don't talk about, and that's our health. Um, there's stereotypes to our health. I mean, a lot of times, men, if we feel a pain, only thing we do is grab aspirin bottle
Yeah.
because we're told men don't cry. So we ignore our pain because we've been socialized to ignore our pain. But men's health is important. When we ignore our health or we're not healthy, we can't go to work. We can't be productive. We can't spend time with our kids. So our health is important. So we're just going to talk about men's health in general. Then we get into some of the nuances of things that contribute to poor health or bad health. But let's start off. Why do you think men's health is important? Why?
Well, for the things that you just stated, number one, if we're not healthy, then how do we go to work? You know, how do we maintain an 8 or 10 or 12-hour workday if we're not healthy? And so you can't hold up, and if you're not healthy, it starts to break down mentally, emotionally, physically. You just start to break down.
Gotcha.
And so the key is getting as healthy as we possibly can, building our immune system strong so that we can provide for the family.
Gotcha. Okay.
Being able to be active with your kids.
Okay.
You know, having the energy to put in time with them. You know, you may have an active son that's out there ready to go play basketball every day, and you pride hurt because you're getting beat every day.
Yeah.
Not 'cause you ain't-
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had some situations in my life that encouraged me to really stay active with my health.
Mm.
You know, I'm a gym rat. And at this time, with this virus going on, it's kind of complicated because I can't go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be creative.
Gotcha.
You know, when I go to my hometown, I see a lot of my friends who are my age look like they're in their 70s
Mm.
because they don't value health.
Gotcha.
My physician knows me by my first name, my middle name, everything, because I'm there so much.
So we don't go to the doctor. We don't get checkups like we should.
Yeah.
You know, so many men die from not investing in their health.
Heart disease.
Prostate cancer.
Gotcha.
You know, because here goes again, pride.
Gotcha.
You know, or we feel like we got all the answers.
Gotcha.
And not understanding. And I often ask this question. You know, who are you hurting? If something happens to you, who is it affecting? You know, the children. A lot of children become orphaned because people don't want to take a vested interest in their health, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's just how it is.
You know, I wonder, and I don't know, maybe this is or isn't, but does education play a role in our health? Does transportation play a role in our health, especially those who live in rural areas?
Or
right?
lack of transportation.
Lack of transportation. So, and when I say education, I mean and I don't know, but if you don't take your education serious, and you don't know to take your health serious,
Gotcha.
then are you really going to go to the doctor like you're supposed to?
Gotcha.
Is it an economical thing where if you feel like you can't afford to go to the doctor, like what all play a part in us as men just not going to the doctor?
I think it's just like I said before, we do what we grew up seeing. I got into health because of my mother.
Mm-hmm.
In the 4th grade, I remember my mother and I were walking, and she was drinking a can of Nutriment. I don't know whether y'all remember Nutriment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They still sell it. Actually.
Yeah. And
It's a
protein drink.
Protein drink. Yeah.
And my mother, you know, she was an athlete. Her brothers were athletes. On both sides were athletes. But I remember we were walking, and I asked her what was she drinking, and she said Nutriment, and I said, ugh. She said it's good for you. You want to try it? And I was like, no. She said, try it. I drank it, and it was history from there. My mother, till this day, and she's had hip replacement surgery. My mother is 71 years old and still walks, run, you know, so many miles a day. And I remember that lesson from her. I remember growing up when I was about in the 5th grade, my friends used to call me Templeton. Anybody remember Charlotte's Web?
Yeah.
Templeton used to eat everything, and that's what
Yeah.
she said. Never let people define you.
Gotcha.
And I've always growing up lifting weights. Back in the days,
And that was strength training.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we would take a pole and put it between two cement blocks to lift weights. We would run, sprint, challenge each other.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? The goal in mind was to be healthy. We want to be cut. We want to be fit, and it morphed into something more.
Absolutely.
Because when we got older, when I got older, I didn't want to be the guy out of shape,
Mm-hmm.
having all of these different diseases. One of my best friends died in 2018, massive heart attack.
Wow.
And it had such a profound effect on me, and it really scared me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I do I'm consistent with my yearly checkups, my 6-month checkups, because I want to live a long time.
Yeah.
And I want to see my sons grow. I want to see them
Your
have
grandsons
children.
and want to be
Yes.
available. Yeah.
I want to be, I want to be
Yeah.
available. Everything it affects everything. Every time I have a physical, I keep it on my phone until the next physical.
Right.
To remind me where I'm at. I remember I picked up weight one time, and my son's mother sent the picture to my dad, and he said, "Who is that fat so and so?" And it bothered me.
Yeah.
I had got up to 250 pounds, and that's not me. Anybody that knows me know that I'm a gym rat. I believe in health. I regress at times, but I think sometimes being in this situation, talking to you about health and supplementing and stuff like that helps. So if you look at my cabinet, probably every kind of
Vitamin
vitamin
supplement. Yeah.
under the sun I got.
There you go.
My vitamin D's, my vitamin C. I'm careful of what I eat.
There you go.
What we said earlier,
Yeah.
what you put in gonna come out.
And the saying goes that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
So sometimes that health does not have to be this extraordinary, revolutionary process we take ourselves through. Sometimes it's the small things, especially in this season right now, that when you're trying to practice health, good health, even trying to prevent yourself from even contracting viruses and different things, we recommend hand sanitizing. And that's part of men's health.
Get some of that too.
Yeah,
Wow.
sanitizing. So when you go out different places, that you stay healthy and you keep your kids healthy. But along with that, Craig said something very, very important. Supplementing. Taking your multivitamins, taking your vitamin C's. Sometimes just taking things like vitamin water when you go outside, when you run, when you exercise. Orange juice and water. Hydration is very important because sometimes we consume so much of the sodas, the Pepsis, the Coca-Cola, those things. And I'm not knocking those things, but when you're putting all those things in your body, over time it begins to compact itself. It begins to build up and break down. Affects your liver, affects your metabolism, and your immune system. It becomes, you put your immune system in crisis. So you said something very important: what you eat, how we take care of ourselves. Also, exercising. You can make. Let me see that football. You can make exercise fun. Go outside, throw the ball with your kids.
I thought you was about to throw that at me. I'm like,
Oh,
right here.
yeah. Play soccer, baseball. Just doing. You can make men's health fun just by doing. And we're going to demonstrate a little bit later on different exercises you can do while you're at the house. The gym is closed, but your living room can become the gym.
It can be.
And we're going to demonstrate what that looks like.
That's what I do now. It hurt me that the gym shut down. But what I do now is body weight exercises. And I've created a gym in my front room. I have a 2-bedroom apartment, but I do so many jumping jacks a day, ab crunches, and in between every set, I do 25 to 50 jumping jacks because I want to get
And
my
then you
heart
hydrate,
rate.
right?
And afterwards, I drink my
I'm
well.
glad you
As
said
I'm
something
working
about
out, I drink water. Why? Because working out, while you're working out and you're drinking water, it increases creatine.
Absolutely.
And what do you need creatine for?
That's right. Your muscles
Yes.
and body, and you're
Yes.
right,
And
because
you
your body
know,
does not manufacture its own creatine.
I don't think we stress drinking water enough too. Because if our bodies is not hydrated, then what is our body going to do to get hydration? It's going to tell you that you're hungry because it wants to pull the water from the food that you eat. So now what you're going to do? You're going to overeat.
You're going to overeat to compensate.
You're going to overcompensate because your body wants to get the nutrients from the food.
That's right.
Well, if we hydrate it,
That's
then
right.
our body is not telling us, well, we got to eat.
Gotcha.
Because I don't want the water off the
So
food.
how does that translate into working? Because if I'm sick or I'm low, I have low energy, how does that affect me when I'm trying to work?
You can't function. You don't have the energy.
Right.
And a lot of this leads to the mentality, your mindset, the mental health part of all of this.
Okay.
If I'm not physically fit, then I'm not fit nowhere.
Gotcha.
If like lacking vitamin D, like we talked about, a lot of times it drops your energy level.
Absolutely.
And you cannot come in and be proficient and effective if you don't have the energy, you don't have the drive.
Gotcha.
But if you get the necessary amount of food, the right food, and
Right
all of
foods.
those,
Right.
You're right.
it encourages the body to do. I always tell people that I was training, make the body do what it do. If you take care of your body
Will take care of you. Now, will your kids? You think your kids will model or they will mimic your health practices? Because
think
if
so.
your
I
kids,
think so.
let's say if your kids see you drinking alcohol, beer, all the time,
They do what they see.
they're gonna do what they see. But if your kids see you drinking your orange juice, your energy. Now, this is not an energy drink. This is vitamin water, and what your kids are going to mimic that. They're going to mimic
They're
that
gonna do what they
behavior.
see.
They're going to do what they see.
But my sons have never seen me drink or smoke because I don't. Because I care about my health. And we have these conversations about abusing the body, long-term effect.
Absolutely.
It affects every portion of your health, your reproductive system, your mental health, smoking, drinking, all of that stuff.
Gotcha.
And so I think right now the stuff that I'm saying to them, they are taking
Starting
it
to make sense.
Yeah.
Because we test high blood pressure, and we have high risk of
high
stroke,
cholesterol.
high cholesterol, because we're not monitoring what we're doing. We're not doing it, and everything has to be done in moderation.
And high blood pressure is destroying our kidneys. That's why you see so many people on dialysis now. Because that long period of just hypertension where they never took care of it, and it eventually destroys your kidneys.
Absolutely.
But I have a question for y'all though. Like, remember back in the day, like when you could ride through neighborhoods and people be outside playing, adults and kids be active. We don't see that no more.
Yeah, because they're on the
Technology.
PS1
Technology
and
is taking over, and
Yeah.
then too, like even as you have a lot of adults playing video games and stuff now that and if their kids are not even outside and active, you don't go outside to support that.
That's true.
Being outside throwing the ball with your kids, that shows your kids, hey, let's do things together. You can use that as an activity. But when you're expecting kids to eat healthy, you're not cooking those things. Like when mom fixes a meal, if you throwing down fried chicken, what your kids eat?
Fried chicken.
yeah, instead of baking the chicken.
So
you
if
know-
you want to convert it, it has to be different.
My son's mother asked me a question Sunday. Back in the days growing up, we used to fly kites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you see that anymore?
I don't see kites.
Playing in the park,
Playing
and
in the park.
Yeah.
people don't realize that when you're outside, you're taking in fresh oxygen, but your body is actually absorbing vitamin D from the sun. So, and that helps your body develop an immunity with different diseases or different toxins you may encounter. The body actually develops a natural resistance. So we need the outside playing, the exercising. And when you're running or playing, the range of motion, your joints are stretching, your body is moving.
Everything's moving.
That's range of motion.
Believe this or not, I still got my bike, Onyx, big black bike, Day bike. And I bought my sons Malik and Kinnear's bike. And 3 days a week, and they will attest to that, 3 days a week we rode 5 miles at one time. Everybody was losing weight. I mean, they sweat a lot, what you need.
Yeah, you're detoxing when you're sweating.
Yeah, and it was a time for us to bond. So was getting a lot of different things from exercise.
So exercises don't have to be laborious. You can actually make it fun.
Yeah.
And it brings me to my next question too. Where are the parks at? Especially in rural communities or rural areas. Where are the bike parks or the tracks or just where we can walk without fear of being hit by a car on the road?
They're there, but they're not being used because I think we have. I think you said it earlier. We've went to such a technological society that we're playing the PlayStations and we're sitting under an air conditioner where we're not sweaty. We're watching TV, reality television, and we're eating and sitting and we're not
Reality
moving.
television is unhealthy in itself.
So we're doing all those things and we're not getting our range of motion. We're not sweaty. And then when we do come in, we're sitting there drinking Pepsis and Cokes, not drinking water or orange juice or things that we need to be doing for our natural health. We're not supplementing. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, eating fruit. Yeah. Also taking multivitamins and things like that. We can do these small things that really don't require a gym membership. Not knocking if you can afford that, but there's some things you can, especially now that you can't go to the gym. You can do these things now and really see a difference in your body. And that affects your mindset because watch this. If I don't have energy in my mind, I don't want to put in for that job because I don't want to work 8 hours because I don't have the energy.
I don't have the stamina to do it. And then just like, to even further answer your question, you have the high schools, you can go out to the baseball fields, the recreation fields, use those. If there's a part where your kids are playing, walk around, find a safe neighborhood, use your own neighborhood.
Or your own front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, you grew up on the farm. Hey, use all that farm.
Yeah. Now this leads me into
we go.
This leads me into another topic. Then we realize that you have the situation of STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and that impacts men's health. And I think we need to talk about that because if we're not preventing ourselves from getting these STDs, we put ourselves at risk. Unsafe sex, and it's very important for men to realize that when you're not being mindful of certain promiscuous behavior, you can really put yourself at risk, and you can really put your partner at risk. So we have to be mindful of STDs and being promiscuous, going from person to person. Doing these behaviors because you're gonna impact lives.
Back in the days, even college days, if you did contract something, you could take a pill or a shot and you were good. Now, there's nothing you can do. I mean, they talk about stuff on TV, but I wouldn't want to be in that position where I got to even think about.
You know what though? In society today. And since we're keeping it real, society has made it okay to go from person to person to person with sexual activity.
So it's more cultural then.
It's a cultural thing. Whereas, you may be like, listen, I got to preserve myself for that special one, but we got to learn how people are raised and how they're brought up because some people don't see staying with one person as a thing,
Monogamy.
It's like, I'm with you for a minute, but okay, now I'm done with you. I'm with you. And so there's creating that sexual activity that can create those STDs that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I think as society, there's something bigger that we have to deal with to let people know that, look, I understand you're an adult. I understand you're grown, but it is not okay for you to be with this person, that person, and that person. That is not okay.
I think that goes back to, again, putting in a value system.
I agree.
If you never taught to, hey, save yourself for marriage, or
that's true.
And like you say, you're looking at TV now where all these TV shows might show this man with all these women and it looks successful to our kids or men.
Right.
So then now, or a lot of guys, I got to use what I got to get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it just goes into, let's play back and forth.
Right.
Let's see where we can go with this thing. And in the middle of all that,
could it be self-esteem? Maybe a kid feels, and I say kid, or a man feels as though the more women I got, that kind of makes me feel good about myself. I was able to rock with Sharon one day. I'm with Tanya the next day. I'm with Keisha the next day because I'm trying to fulfill an emotional void that I have.
Because they could be dealing with rejection.
Okay.
Well, here's another thing. Like, where is it that someone is taught what is it to be a man?
And you know what? And you led me somewhere because a lot of times what happens is you got boys trying to teach themselves how to be men.
That's true.
That's what they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But that leads me into a question, and I'll ask you guys. So how do we educate our fathers? How do we educate the community as an entity that is in a situation that can educate? How do we do that? Do we continue to do these types of settings? How do we educate people on the importance of not being promiscuous?
Because
the importance of not contracting. You know, how do we do it? How does that look?
HIV, STDs.
Because most time when you got a bunch of guys together, we talking about women. You know, we're talking about, you know, what we gonna do and how we
It's
can do
almost like
this
a
and
rite
that
of
one and that
passage.
one. You
Rite
know,
of
You know, you
passage.
do what's in your circle, right?
And so it's kind of like, okay, listen, man, look, we all grown here. You know, I'm 38 years old. I ain't but one woman on my mind. You know, I ain't got time for all that other stuff. So at what point do we become from boys to men and say, listen, I'm focusing on this right here. Y'all can do all that, right? But this where I'm at.
But even
Like,
I think going to Craig's question is, one way is to focus on one person, but we know that's not going to happen in most cases.
True.
So the message that you really have to send is be safe.
Well, let me say this. I think we do have to really take a deep dive and confront our own mores and stereotypes. We have to confront our own mores, our own value system and stereotypes. What have we been told that manhood is? Because think about this: if you don't have your father or didn't have your father in your life,
right.
the fellas on the block will tease you
Yep.
because you ain't got none yet.
Right.
Or are you still a virgin? Or
You ain't with this
Are
one, that one, and
you
that one.
a real man?
Or are you a real
Right.
man
Yeah.
and what that means to be a man
Testing
and
your masculinity.
testing your masculinity. And sometimes as men, even though we've grown in age, we may have not grown in our experience and our mindset as it pertains to sexuality.
That's true.
So you can be 30 years old still dealing with 17-year-old problems.
So
Or you can, or you can be 42 years old or 28 years old,
Right.
and still really wrestling with or living off the information you got at 13 or 15 years old, and there's nobody came along to say, hey, nah, that's not, just because you messed around or had sex with Keisha, and you have no commitment there. And that makes you feel like, yeah, I'm a man because I was able to pull that woman and I was able to lay down with her and I'm the man, Think about it. We live in a culture now that praises a man with how many women he can have, what kind of car he can drive, and whether or not he have enough money to make it rain. I made it rain. And that means, to those who don't know what made it rain is, I got a lot of money and I was able to pass it out. Or I went to a club and threw money up in the air. And believe it or not, we have guys that have heard these rap stars or entertainers glorify these things. And if we have not really confronted those mores in our own mind, we can be 30, 35, 42 years old,
that's true.
still living off that same mindset. And so when I meet a girl, she's just with me, I'm just with her for pleasure. She wants commitment, but I'm just hooked on pleasure. Because think about it, as men, sometimes men's market themselves off their financial security. I can provide money. And sometimes if a woman has not been raised by or had a father involvement, she feel like her greatest value or greatest asset is her body. So you got the body, I got the money, but then when we get together, the woman is looking for more than that. Yeah. She falls in love with who we are, but if we're not careful, we do what we need to do, say what we need to say to appeal to what we think she wants. Yes. But after we've had sex with her, we move on to the next person because we're not just making love to her body. We're making love to her mind and heart. At least she feels like we're making love. That's what she sees. Yeah, but we may just be in it for the sex. And she's looking for a commitment. And so with that can come a level of promiscuity, because if I go to different women with that same mindset, I have a risk to bringing something to this woman that she didn't ask for.
So here's the thing, even with that, and that goes back to the point of, in the subject we're at, being safe while you're doing it. I mean, no matter what kind of lifestyle you live, the transmission is going to come through not being safe. Like I say, you're going to have the guys who commit, the ones that don't. But even if you're in a relationship at first, and are you practicing safety while you're getting to really know that person versus, okay, hey, I just met this girl, she gonna be the one, we just out there, and something happens along the way, she might not be faithful, you might not be faithful, however it may go, but are y'all still practicing safe sex?
Now,
Well,
yeah.
safe sex. What is safe sex? Because
That's deep.
there are still some
Risk.
STDs that you can acquire even practicing safe sex.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though when we think safe sex, first thing people think about is birth control and condoms.
Yes.
And not realizing that there are other ways you can
Absolutely.
acquire. But let me tag on that too, because when we think about safe sex, we're just thinking about ourselves with a person. What about the mental framework and the emotional devastation that happens to a child when they see men or see the father going from woman to woman? What about the impact there? When we think about men's health, we're thinking about our physical health, but what about the emotional side?
And so for me growing up, like, I never saw that with my father, right? And so it trickled down to me because I don't do it. I've never done it. You know, this person, no. Because my daddy showed me, look, this is how you raise a family, son. This is how you be about family. So I do think it's how you were raised and the environment you were raised in. And so my parents was very careful about allowing me around certain things.
So if Snoop Dogg and Lil Wayne is my role models,
You gonna follow what their lifestyle.
Gotcha.
Because that's what you see, that's what you desire.
And they get paid to do
And
it.
they get paid to do it. So you're like,
Yeah.
yo, I can, and they think that that's a norm.
Yeah.
Now realizing that
There are consequences.
consequences, you could be leading to self-destruction.
Yeah. Now, let me throw this out, because no father wants to convey the message to his daughter that all men are dogs.
Yeah.
No father wants to create that insecurity in his daughter, because if Papa was a Rolling Stone, wherever he laid his head with his home, if daughter sees dad bouncing around every holiday, he's bringing a new girl, or every couple months he's introducing himself to the new girlfriend, what does that really do to the daughter? And I know we're still in men's health, but I can't help but go there, because we can create a mental framework that she become untrusting. Remember it now, the first man that a daughter will see and understand will be dad. And if dad demonstrates that this is what men, because remember, the home is a microcosm for the whole world. This is what men are about, because this is what my dad is about.
We have to be the change we want to see.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We can't preach to our daughters with this is the type of man you should go for or allow in your life, when we aren't the type of man that we're speaking
Don't
of.
do as I do as I say do.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's like, how can you say, okay, daughter, follow your daddy, get a man like your daddy, when daddy ain't no good? So what, you gonna tell your daughter to get a man that ain't no good, and now you mad at him for doing your daughter wrong when you done did countless other daughters wrong?
Yeah, left some casualties along the way.
Exactly.
So every man should ask themselves, am I the type of man that I want to see my daughter date?
Absolutely. I actually always,
That's always.
Am I the type of man that I want to see my daughter date?
Absolutely.
And if the answer is no, then we got to do different.
You better be like Michael Jackson, look at the man in the mirror.
You know, and I won't call his name. I have a friend, childhood friend, man. He has, I think, 17 kids. How can I say it? You know, he will ridicule any guy that gets involved with one of his children. But you're just like them. And we've had a conversation about it,
Mm-hmm.
and the conversation don't last long. In fact, he said to me, he whispered, he said, that's not good in this household.
Now, okay, so let's take that conversation into, if I'm a person, let's say, because sometimes we become promiscuous because of low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I feel like I determine my value based upon the number of women I can sleep with, right? So if that's the case, then that leads to another issue that we really have to address in our community, and that's substance abuse, right? Because sometimes people abuse substance. You're talking about alcohol, drugs, even abusing prescription drugs. So how do we see substance abuse among us?
In a lot of instances and cases, that becomes a lifestyle.
Okay.
Like if you're out there in the club scene, in the party, and the turning up, and I drink and I'm smoking and this and that, that kind of finds, like, you don't have to go too far to find it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out there like that, that neighborhood will take care of itself. Be like, hey, this is a drug that we can go find this here. These people are always partying and drinking. That kind of opens people up, and like you say, if you see it a lot, like in the videos or TV shows, hey, we're popping bottles, we're in a club every weekend, and that looks like a glorified lifestyle.
Right.
You're attracted to it.
Gotcha.
But then it may not take long for a person to get hooked in it. You know, yeah, I just came out, I tried it. You know, you might have some of these kids now, well, you know, my friend had a party. I just went over and we tried a few pills. But I like the high that I got from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I may not be able to go to the party, but then here it comes. Well, grandma got this same thing.
Yeah.
And kids,
Especially in the rural community, we have high meth use.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of guys that they see smoking weed is on the same level smoking cigarettes, which some can argue. But they're not able to get jobs because if they go to test you, drug test, you can't pass a drug test, you can't get a job. So there's some impacts, there's some negative impacts that we get from abusing substance.
Well, I was gonna say this. A lot of people are looking for healing.
Okay.
And them looking for healing, oftentimes, it is masked in drugs,
Self-medicated.
alcohol,
Self-medicating.
sex. You see
Okay,
what I'm saying?
okay.
They get addicted to that stuff, and they
Gotcha.
don't realize what they're really looking for is healing, trying to get over something
Gotcha.
in their life that they haven't gotten over with yet.
Gotcha.
And now
Traumatic
it's the drugs,
experience,
the
yeah.
alcohol, the sex, and
Gotcha.
and it's become a pattern now.
Gotcha.
What about this? People are often indulge in drugs and alcohol to belong. They want to fit in.
To fit in.
Yep.
Right.
You know, a friend of mine in college, Keith Morris, well, he's passed on now. But Keith and I were the only two in our circle who didn't drink or smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we would tell people this, they viewed us differently. And one night, Keith and I pretended that we were drunk. Oh yeah, you know, we got kudos for pretending to be drunk,
Just to fit in.
just to fit in.
So that's peer pressure.
Yeah, you know, but then we revealed, nah, man, we're not drinking. Oh, you know,
You're
everything
squares,
changed.
you ain't,
Yeah.
you're corny if you're not. And so at the end of the day, what does that do for our kids? Because I know grown men said they start drinking because they saw granddaddy drink. They saw dad stay high. So, hey, my dad used to drink a lot. I mean, so those things that negative behavior can roll up on our kids.
My dad, when I was 18 years old, my dad had asked me, I hadn't seen him in years, and I went to go visit him in Atlanta. And I remember he asked me, did I drink or smoke? I said, no. He said, you don't drink or smoke weed? I was like, no, sir. He said, really? He was surprised. He said, my son don't drink or smoke. Now, my sisters, they did. I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't believe it. You know, I never, till this day, people will ask me, you never took a drink? Never took a drink. You never smoked? Never smoked.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my sons to see that kind of stuff. You know?
Absolutely.
You know, even in a lot of instances, like I think Craig mentioned earlier about peer pressure. You know, even with kids now, like say if you don't do it, oh you don't fit in, or we'll come get you after we go do whatever.
Gotcha.
Like for me, I stopped drinking June 10th for maybe 3 years, and all my friends still look, man, you ain't had a drink. I saw you at such and such. You look like you. I'm like, no, I know how to have a natural high of having fun.
There you go, natural.
And a lot of people can't separate that. You know, if I have fun, I gotta drink, I gotta smoke, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, so when someone like say fitting in, you know, some of my friends they look at me, oh man, you ain't down, you don't drink. I'm here. Like we're in the same vicinity.
Because they may have the wrong mindset.
I can still go to a club. I can still go to a sports bar. Like, the funny thing now, I hang with some of my friends. We'll go to, like, a restaurant or a sports bar or whatever. Hey, get him 2 shots of water. You know, and it's like the funniest thing. Like, they take them. I get it. I have me a shot of water. But it's no different than when I was drinking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
And you're able to address your health in a better way.
But you know, I know you are, but we're all some aspect in our life deal with health. And I was reading, and you may be able to back me up on this, but there are certain foods that you can eat that will put you in a state of euphoria, just like marijuana. People don't know that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it, your brain has endorphins. Those are the feel-good endorphins. And sometimes people use drugs and alcohol because they're trying to get that stimulate the endorphins, or that what we call a high.
Trying to
But
escape reality.
you can exercise, which creates endorphins, and things like that, or just being able in good company, laughing affects your health.
Yeah.
You know, it says laughter does good as a medicine.
It increases.
Yeah.
Doing nothing right here.
Yeah, you gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. Because you fight depression. And sometimes even at Man to Man, here at the Fatherhood Initiative, when we see people, we try to greet them cheerfully. Then you can encourage a good thought process. Focus on positivity instead of negative. And when you're able to do that, you're able to affect your body in a good way. Let's talk about health screenings, because as men, sometimes we don't go to the doctor.
Wow.
We don't get screened. We don't get tested for diabetes, heart disease, things that we can do really to get ahead of the curve. What do you say about that?
You know, I'll say this. So it's no secret. Like last year, I was really unhealthy, and it caused me a lot of issues as far as being sick. Had the flu, and around the flu, it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and it affected my work ethic. But it amazes me that when I started seeing my doctor on a regular, and we started working together as a partnership, my health improved.
So maybe we need to change meaning. See doctors or health providers as partners. In our health. Rather than just they're going to fix me.
No, it's a partnership.
We come together. It's 50-50.
It's an understanding.
Okay.
Because she understood that, you know, as men, we have pride, especially when it comes to our health. And so she says, okay, what can I do to help you improve on your health?
Gotcha.
And so she allowed me to speak my piece, and then she spoke what she wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And we came together as a team.
Gotcha.
And so far, since last year, having been back to the hospital, I've been countless doctor visits, high blood pressure check, and cholesterol and all that. Everything has been checking out good.
Cool.
Because I partnered with my health provider.
Gotcha.
Now, I think in most cases, you know, and especially in rural areas, a lot of people may not have health insurance.
Okay.
That's true.
And they're thinking a physical is going to cost me so much. But if I go, you know, and then they automatically just assume in their mind, hey, I just start changing this. And they may not be changing the right things because they don't know their numbers, like James alluded to in his visit. You know, what are your cholesterol numbers? What are your blood sugar numbers? You might be saying, oh, I'll cut back on sugar, but you still got a high salt intake. So the importance of going, you know, finding you know, we put our money into so many other things. Like this might be just that one time. Hey, go get your numbers checked. So then you kind of know where you are.
And what you need to do.
And things you can address.
It may be cutting back on salt. It may be cutting out back on your bread intake, knowing where you are in range, so you can know what to address.
And you know, and I add this too. especially for all the fathers who come through Man to Man, even if you don't have health insurance, we make it available so that you can see a health provider.
Yeah.
And if you don't have transportation,
Sliding fees and everything.
we will go and pick
Take
you up
them.
to make sure you get there.
Absolutely.
And so I think, we have to expand our minds and look into other programs that are available to help us instead of saying, well, I don't have health insurance.
And we have access to those resources.
Yeah,
There's
like I
people
said,
that have
we're
access to
privy
resources.
to a lot of resources that will help you.
Yeah. And so, I encourage all the fathers, hey, look up Man to Man. We here, especially when it comes to your health. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So while you're watching, tune in. Matter of fact, we're going to do some brief illustrations of how your home can become your gym. How you can exercise, and we're going to demonstrate that in a few. But it's very important that we get health screening so we know where we are. And if your children
STD
see
screenings as well.
You're right, STD screenings. And as your kids see you taking charge of your health, that would translate to them starting to do the same things for their health. So as they grow, with Dad always, got his cholesterol levels checked. Dad, made sure that he was monitoring his intake. Those kids, and that would translate, and those kids will start doing the same things. And make it fun. We see this. You see the soccer ball and the football throwing range of motion, multivitamins, vitamin C, water, orange juice, and make sure your sanitizers sprayed. Don't take much. Spray your hands, your kids'
Every time
hands.
you pick it up, I want to put some in my hand.
Yeah. And sanitize them because you're practicing good health and you're modeling. I'm going to say that again. You're modeling good health. You just don't want to just do it for your own. But whatever we do, kids will do. So just tune in. Continue to practice good health while you're home, because now you can while you're home. Yeah. Get so bored you start eating a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So you have to get outside and move and stretch and exercise.
Add vegetables and dietary changes.
Steaming your food, steaming your vegetables and baking your chicken, drinking water.
Mm-hmm. I just thought about it. We just had Easter, and so while we're home, coronavirus got us in. Plant a garden. Do something outside behind the house.
Plant a garden.
Put a little garden up.
You're exercising, and then you can eat those things you planted, and you can teach your kids how to garden and how to stay healthy and how to produce.
What are we doing for our mental health?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Since we've been quarantining, I've been reading more.
Okay.
I think I can mention you about some books that I got. The World is Flat. I started reading the other day, The Great Influenza.
Okay.
1918.
Gotcha.
Which became, and I read something on George Bush.
Gotcha.
And how he got into the book.
Gotcha.
So I became inquisitive. Got a book, The Mindset.
So your mind can travel while your body is stationary through books.
Yeah, through books.
And that really helps. Just being able to find different subjects that you're interested in, and even things you didn't know anything about. Gotcha. And then also, right now, a good activity: read the same book your kids are reading.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that.
I had when he said, when his name was, I had a read a rainbow moment. Just I can go anywhere as you read. Yeah, you're right. But let's park there for a minute, because you said we have to address our mental health, and sometimes talking to one another, calling us to talk about issues, so you won't feel like you got cabin fever. I've been in the house, I'm about to lose it and all this kind of stuff. Call us.
As men, we deal with so much because we tend to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders.
Gotcha.
Sometimes we have to release, because if we don't, we self-destruct.
You're right.
And it really messes with our mental health.
That's right.
That's right. And not saying that you are. I want to be correct when I say this. You're not mentally ill. Mm-hmm. It's just your mental health is not. Everybody, I think, at some point has dealt with some form of mental health.
Mm-hmm. Lost a job or no job.
Yes.
Or I'm behind in child support. I deal with anxiety. Are they going to lock me up? I want to park there because when you talk about that, mental health is so important, because sometimes you can need help or support, and there's a stigma. If I go to counseling, that means something is wrong with me. That means I'm crazy. And sometimes we carry that stereotype. Doesn't mean I'm crazy. Maybe I just need some support in coping. We should give it changed meaning. Help me cope with this issue.
Listen, I learned something. I'm sorry, I learned something very valuable. I have a friend grew up with me back home. She works for the Department of Homeland Security, and she'll pop up, and we'll talk. And she said one of the things that she do is she'll see a counselor. And I said, why? She said, because I have to detox.
Detox. Yeah.
I have to detox my mind.
So doesn't mean I'm crazy. Doesn't mean something wrong with me. Just means I need some support
Absolutely.
to cope.
That's right.
Because sometimes mental illness or issues come because our inability to cope with whatever the situation is. So if I can get some help and support in coping with this situation, then I can do better mentally. I can do better physically, because whatever you're going through mentally will affect you physically.
Absolutely.
I think
I was gonna say, I wonder how many people would not be on drugs if they would have talked to somebody. They would have got that counselor to talk to, so their coping mechanism became the drug or the alcohol, or even the highly sexual activity.
Absolutely.
But what if they would have talked to a professional
to help me cope?
And oftentimes I talk to participants about developing coping mechanisms.
Absolutely.
Ridding the mind of.
Absolutely.
And so we talk about that kind of stuff often.
Because what if someone really, the reason why they get high as an escape from my reality? And so if drinking is going to help me escape from the reality that I'm unemployed, or drinking is going to help me escape from the reality that my dad wasn't there, drinking is going to help me escape from the issue that I can't see my kids and spend 3 years. And so I'm turning to those things as a coping mechanism. But at the same time, I'm destroying my body while I'm trying to cope.
So many lives I think we have affected because guys know where to turn. And as a form of, I guess, a last ditch effort, as a form of strategy, whatever, we've been able to help people to strategically solve those types of issues, pointing them into the right direction, what resources to use, because what happens when you backed up and you can't come out.
And some coping mechanism that we can kind of throw out. I mean, you can come to us where we can basically talk. Sometimes you just getting things off your chest.
just like this right here, without the camera, just this.
Yeah. And then there's church, there's the faith community, where you can go and be around people that are in good spirit. There is exercising. As you exercise and you stretch, you stir up those feel-good endorphins.
Develop those core values.
Core values. And relationships. Sometimes there's people available, but sometimes we tell ourselves that we don't want the stereotype is I'm weak because I can't deal with, I'm supposed to be able to deal, I'm a man. And dying in the inside, I'm hard, I'm a man. And we kill ourselves because we don't talk.
Well, I say this, and having been through certain situations, but even seeing it in a lot of neighborhoods, we never get a chance to, like say Craig mentioned earlier, detox the environment that we in, because you're steady in it. When kids come up and they see violent situations in neighborhoods, the gangs, the shootings, this and that, who do they get a chance to go talk to?
Right.
Wow.
Mom would say, just go in your room, take some time to yourself.
Right.
Well, your family may not be the people that can help you. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have the counseling skills.
They don't have,
or if it's your child, you kind of baby them versus sometimes even for our kids, we have to paint a harsh reality. I always tell guys, they're going through certain things. It's okay if your child sees you struggle. Because if they see you struggle and you bounce back, they learn how to bounce back.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, okay.
But you can't leave them with your struggle.
Yeah, it's like.
Or you shouldn't leave them with the reality that this is how things is and make them feel like that's their norm. So you have to give them the reality, but at the same time, if you present a problem with no solution, you left them with the problem.
Because it's like, we might lose our job. Okay, well, right now, I had this job. I might have to go work at Burger King, McDonald's, just to keep the money going. And then start this and keep going.
Gotcha.
But if your mental capacity leads you, man, I lost my job, man, I'm finna go hang with the boys.
And I'm here to go take me a drink, get a cold one out the refrigerator. You create a mindset.
You know, and that's
now
one
you're
level of it.
Yeah.
But then the next level of it too is
that
that we're never taught, you know, as men to go talk to someone.
Yeah. But so really we create a default switch in our kids. If we show them that when we're stressful, that means you go light a cigarette or you go get a 40 or you go drink, then that becomes their default switch. So when they go on the stress, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to their default settings. And they're going to revert back to what they see dad did, because that's you created that as a default setting. But what if the default setting is when you get stressed, let's go outside and do something. Let's call somebody. Let's laugh. Let's talk.
Have fun.
We create those default settings. So people, we're creatures of habit. So whatever you've seen done, whenever you go in pressures, you automatically go back to your default settings.
Right. And I think one of the greatest sadness is when being high becomes normal.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, because if being high becomes normal, then what are you when you're not high?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
this mean
So-
person, this
yeah.
aggravated person, this person nobody wants to be around,
Yeah.
this violent person?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about substance abuse, it says substance and then abuse. Abuse meaning it can be all different types of abuse.
Yeah, it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be verbal.
Right.
Gotcha. So this is men's health. So we talked about the physical, eliminating substance abuse, getting help, health screenings, and also dealing with minimizing the transmission or eliminating STDs from those promiscuous practices.
Yeah.
Guys, we want to thank you because we want to, men, get this and share it with someone. And we're here to support you. It's all about men's health. When you're healthy, you put yourself in a situation to be healthy for your kids, healthy enough to be able to work both physically and mentally, emotionally and psychologically.
And you can follow our Facebook page, Man to Man Fatherhood Initiative.
All right. Thanks.